Action. Although these ones are the most uncomfortable ones.
Your thigh?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Of all of the ones, they burn the most.
Mine gets
It's going into the vein. Does that mean it's going to go to my heart?
Yeah. That's interesting. More than your arms or anything?
Mm-hmm. So how does that work when you do get air bubble in the vein?
It has to be pretty big, first of all. And it just works kind of like sort of like a blood clot.
Really?
Yeah.
It seems like the opposite of a clot.
Yeah. It just makes it so that the blood can't flow.
It doesn't stay in the same spot though, right? Because it goes to the heart. That's the danger of it.
Yeah, it can move. And it just matters if it's big, and then basically gets somewhere that it blocks, like a blood clot. That's how like divers get that in their brain sometimes, or when they're coming up. Actually, let's see here. So you have to basically let me numb there.
Yeah, that's numb there.
This
That
part?
wasn't.
This wasn't? Let's give it that first.
Wee bat.
Yeah. And if not, add this one too. For more.
And I can probably just drink that
In
one.
case you say, more please.
Please, sir. I don't feel it. Except for that right there!
Let's do this. It just looks fun.
It's more professional.
Yeah.
You don't want to show too much skin.
Right. It's a little bit,
Sure.
a little bit inappropriate.
There we go. We won't tell people where this is. This is me bum.
Oh wait, you said this was ready, right? Down here?
No.
Or where? Here?
Yeah, that's fine. Center's fine. Felt that last
The
one.
last?
Yeah. Both.
Both ends?
Yeah.
Well, maybe what we could do is just cut the middle and not, we probably don't need to cut that long anyway.
Yeah. We could do it if we wanted to.
Yeah,
Though.
we should just do that. Well, we could. So I'll just start in the middle and then...
We'll go from there.
Yeah.
So, what I was thinking this time, because last time we didn't want to talk about the Rona,
Oh, yeah.
but I think we've gotten to a point where we can talk about it now.
Okay.
So,
Since it's so popular here in Utah County.
yeah. Which last I heard, oh no.
Oh, no.
Last I heard it was a significant spike in positives, but no spike in deaths, right?
I would imagine it because it's all of the college age kids.
Yeah. And plus the deaths trail the positives anyway.
Yeah, it takes a while. It looks like it's our friend right
There he is. He's ready.
Yeah.
Well past.
He's interested.
He's definitely full term. So, what are some of the facts about the Rona? What we know now?
Fact.
There's different strains though, so I think there's 3 now, right?
They probably, and they vary in virility, right?
And what they do, their talents, their features.
I don't know. I mean, we know that it's easily transmitted, especially indoors or in groups.
So the shutdown was a good idea. Nobody go outside.
Yeah, lock
close
everybody
down all the
inside.
parks.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks so weird how it's like moving with the skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It looks
it's
funny.
like still kind of not quite ready.
That was me making his sound.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
I just want to get out.
And basically, the older you get, the more dangerous it is.
Yeah, if you're elderly, I mean, if you're sickly or elderly,
Yeah.
then it's more dangerous.
But like not until you're like 70 is it inherently dangerous regardless, right?
Yeah, for just being old.
Yeah. Like if you're 50 and you don't have anything else
Yeah.
going on, probably fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts creeping up at middle age, but it's a very slow increase. Let me see what's going on here. But yeah, and then it's a much bigger jump at the elderly. Trying to see what this is doing over here.
And it's still like double digits for deaths under 20, I think, right? There's been like hardly any.
Double digits. Oh, total.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, like college age and younger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the total is, but they're still
So low.
yeah.
So, in terms of like the common flu for under 20, do you know, is that more dangerous than the Rona?
Yeah, for children, I'd have to look at see the teenagers, but for sure children flu is deadlier.
Interesting.
This is what that was.
Just a little guy.
It looks like this.
Jeff.
Jeff, yes. Oh, Jeff. Wow.
Jeff. He takes the cake for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Big boy. Big
He's
boy.
a big boy, Jeff. Yep. All right, let's see here.
I wonder what that cavern's going to be like.
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
Cavernous. Look at that. Get the fingers in there. That looks like a weird bubble right there, doesn't it?
That, yeah.
Yeah. That little sack. Weird.
Oh. It is. Oh, it's not.
Yeah, there it is.
There you go.
Popped it.
Did it? Okay. It's just had a bit of fluid.
Fluid.
What we call serous fluid. No, this just looks like
Serious.
you call it seriously call it serous.
It's
It does
post-humorous.
look like regular fat sows. Okay.
You call me fat.
Let's see.
Pox-ridden wench.
Call my dad a chippo. Did she say that about her dad?
You calling my father goodly rotten apple?
Oh yeah, that's right.
But he ain't never goodly rotten apple though.
No, I did. I mean,
Forsooth.
I haven't seen that for a long time. I need to get busy on that.
So then in terms of precautions, like you said, transmits easy, so no kissing, don't hang out with people that you
Yeah,
don't
so
have to
like
hang out with.
it does transmit in the air too. So
Airborne.
yeah. So then basically if you're going to be indoors with other people, especially if it's a prolonged time, then just, wear a mask or try to limit the time or whatever you can do.
Limit the kissing.
Yeah. And but I feel like the thing that it's smelling, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you want me to pull it all the way out?
We don't need to. Okay. Do it. The thing that I think what happened was obviously unfortunate in a lot of ways, that it basically, became political, like mask wearing and just all, basically like your reaction to everything became a political thing. And then it went, so then like mask wearing and stuff kind of went more along party lines.
Mm-hmm.
But then what happens is because everyone's already so divided, then everyone just digs their heels in and like wears a mask in their car, and like the second they leave their house, they put a mask on, even if they're just outside.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even in their house. We don't know.
Yeah, never know. But some people are alone in their car and they're wearing a mask. And like I'll see people hiking up in the mountains wearing a mask. Like, anyway. So it's just frustrating because I wish that more people could like be a little more nuanced about it and a little more like logical in that sense. Like where is it gonna, where might I actually get this or give this to somebody? Oh, it's not sticking. And then make sure I wear my mask there and in the store or whatever places that I go where there are a lot of people that come and go all day. You know, you're just increasing the exposure to just a lot of bodies. And then and then same thing on the other end of the spectrum, like people that are like, you're not going to take away my liberty, you know, like you can't wear a mask. And then talking about getting sick from wearing a mask, like breathing CO2, you know, that doesn't make sense either. I mean, surgeons and OR nurses and OR techs do that all day, 5 days a week. They're wearing a mask, you know. So, I mean, obviously nobody that I know likes wearing a mask. It's not comfortable. You get tired of it. It's hot.
And you can't tell, especially if you're dating, you have no idea how attractive they actually are. Makes dating way more difficult.
Way more complicated. And, yeah. Anyway, so that just in general, that's what I think is if we could be a little more nuanced about it. But, and then just say, you know, like none of that extreme, you know, you don't have to pretend that people that aren't wearing masks are some kind of villain, you know, and that you know that they caused somebody's illness, you know, just because they weren't wearing masks. The problem is even wearing masks, there's no guarantee that you're not going to transmit it. It's just way less. Yeah, it's just way less likely.
Yeah.
So just do it. It's less likely. It might help, you know. So if you're in a crowded place, indoors especially, then just wear a mask and
do it when you need to, when it's makes sense.
Yeah.
Does it make sense in your car by yourself or with your family
or out in fresh air with a breeze, out in wilderness, you know.
Walking in the park.
Yeah.
Where typically people in normal days socially distance in the park anyway.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, I just saw, and I know it's one video out of thousands of interactions, but I just saw a video of a woman that was in a bleachers at a high school football game or something. Just far away. It was empty bleachers basically, far away, just with her family members, and wasn't wearing a mask. And the police security person was coming up and fighting her and trying to arrest her. And ended up, it just went on, and she's like, "What are you doing? Let go of me. Like, you can't arrest me for not wearing a mask." Anyway, finally tased her so that he could handcuff her.
What was well, first of all, just do what cops say. So she was being
I think part of it, I don't know for sure if it was the real police or just the security guard or what exactly, but
well,
anyway,
in any case, just do what they say, and guess what? Chances are way lower that you will get tased.
Yeah.
But I don't know if...
But that's what I mean. It's just so illogical to even get after her.
Yeah. But do you know what the law was, where she was at, or if there was any rules? Because if there was rules, then like, even if they are stupid, still just do it. And if you're going there, don't go there to make a statement. And if the cop says, "Hey, wear a mask," then guess what? I'm in this place, this public place that I don't own. Probably I'll do what the security person who's hired and doing their job says to do. And then even if you don't agree with it, who cares? Like, wear a mask and then just do what they say, even if they are on a power trip. It's the same thing that everybody says with all the cops who pull someone over for something stupid, and then it turns out that that person ends up getting shot. It's like, well, just do what they say, and then guess how many people get shot when they do what they're told.
Yeah,
I agree that it is stupid that that person was on their power trip saying wear the mask, but definitely that lady could have handled that better too.
Yeah, and I don't know because the person filming it was saying you can't arrest somebody for not wearing a mask. I don't know if she really knew that or just thought it was ridiculous or what exactly, but
and the lady's name, I think you said earlier her name was Karen, right? She was like, let me talk to your supervisor.
Yeah. Well, and actually the people around were so concerned by what they were watching that they were saying, we need to call the police. And then somebody said, well, is he a policeman? Like, they didn't know for sure what was even happening. So it was just such a weird situation.
Yeah, the thing that I've found interesting is how so many people are saying that, you wear the mask not for you, but for other people. Mm-hmm. And to me, like, first of all, the other people that I would be wearing it for are my grandparents. Mm-hmm. And we don't even really interact with them, We used to see them all the time, visit them usually once a week, and have family shindigs and stuff. Yeah. But now we socially distance and we're responsible. Other than that, like, I don't really interact with anyone who is in danger of dying from the COVID. Yeah. So me wearing a mask out in public isn't going to help those people. And if there are people who fall into that category, then they are the ones that need to be taking care of themselves. I wouldn't put my safety in other people's hands. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the unfortunate truths that people don't, it's uncomfortable for people, but the reality is the people that might get sick enough to be hospitalized or die basically just have to just say, okay, well, this sucks worse for me than anybody else, but it's the reality.
Yeah.
And so I have to keep myself alive, and I'm gonna stay home or whatever.
How when my mom was doing, I don't know what it was called. It was like temporary work in India to help with the consulate there. Mm-hmm. You know how in the government you can take like temporary postings for like a month or so.
Oh yeah.
Where they have an influx of stuff. So she was there, and India has like one of the highest instances of rape, men raping women. Yeah. And this lady at the embassy was like, that's so stupid, and I'm a woman, I should be able to do what I want, and I'm going to go out and travel by myself and stuff. Mm. And it's like, that's not how you fight that problem. Like, going out and setting yourself up to get raped is not how you address the issue. And saying that it's an injustice, like, that doesn't fix it.
You're like, yes, we all agree that that's not, it's an injustice, it's not fair, it's not a good situation, but it is it is the current situation.
Yeah.
So until you can figure out a way to make the situation better.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you're a woman and you're the person who's
at risk.
That's at risk at that moment, so you have to deal with it. And it's the same thing with the Rona. Saying it's not fair that people with comorbidities or older people have to deal with it. Like, okay, that may be the case. It's a virus. It doesn't choose sides, and it's not fair. But they have to take care of themselves a little bit more than young people. Yeah. And I mean, that's just how life should be anyway.
Well, and I think that's part of it is this, I feel like this whole pandemic has just shone a light on just life. It's like a microcosm of life. It shows how life is unfair. It makes it a little more obvious. And it also shows that people that don't understand that or haven't accepted that life is unfair, also can't handle that it's unfair, that COVID is unfair, and I think that a lot of the people that are prone to like overdoing the mask and overdoing the like blaming and that sort of thing, what they're seeking is a sense of security. They just want something to make them feel safe. Mm-hmm. And so overdoing the masks or overdoing whatever it is, allowing government overreach or that sort of thing is in a way comforting. It's like a security blanket,
Yeah.
Um,
The other thing,
and I think that's partly why it ended up being political.
yeah, the other thing that, well, also I think it would have gotten political, like no matter what stance one side took, the other side is going to take the other stance, no matter what.
Just
So
to
even,
fight about it.
yeah, no matter what it was, it's like, they're doing that? Okay, well then they're wrong and I'm doing the opposite.
Yeah.
But, and not getting into all of the stupid things of, the administration didn't help with all the things when there's all the videos of the governor saying, we're doing great, they've given us all the help. And then after the fact, the governor's saying, we don't want any help and all this stuff.
Yeah.
We need ventilators. Turns out ventilators don't help. What? Another one?
Marble right there.
Are you surprised?
Well, this feels like a tiny ripoff since we just did this one.
And you could have just scooped out into there. What was my train of thought?
Oh, sorry. You were saying that the administration helped us, and they're like, just kidding, we're mad at them, they didn't do anything for us.
Yeah. Shoot, what was it? Oh, something that hasn't really been talked about, kind of, but not as much as I think it should be, is the negative externalities that are happening because of the shutdowns. Like the obvious one is the economy, and that sounds so vague when people say the economy is struggling. It's like, well, the reason the economy is struggling is because people are making no money and businesses are shutting down, specifically restaurants and stuff. And it's like, it's not McDonald's that's shutting down, it's the mom and pop restaurants.
Right, it's individual businesses,
And so all these people are struggling. So that, but then also like the suicides that have gone up, the instances of domestic abuse and child trafficking,
and all mental illness, and anxiety, depression.
And it's like, we have to protect people from dying from COVID, and it's like, okay, that sounds good, but if it's at the expense of literally people who are fine other than mental illness and kill themselves over it, people losing their jobs and kids maybe starving and stuff, it's like, to protect the people who should just protect themselves and can by
now that we know who to protect, that's what we need to focus on. Is just trying to keep those people safe.
My friend works for a bank, and he said the bank as a whole, and it's a sizable bank, they have branches all over the country. He said the bank as a whole has had 0 deaths due to coronavirus, but they've had at least one, if not several, suicides. And the person's basically wrote a note saying like, this is everything that's going on.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
To do a little diagonal business here to get this covered. Well, I think that's one of the things that has frustrated me more than anything. It's definitely has been political, and that's caused problems, but also the way our quote unquote news covers all of this makes it worse and worse and worse. They scare people more and more. Instead of focusing on I think they've gotten in such a rut of trying to of sensationalizing headlines just in general, that even when they have a headline that's a tiny bit of good news about the pandemic, they have to tack on something else horrible.
But that good thing happened, but
it's
the death rates are still
but while
and to date this many deaths,
death rates are flattening or decreasing while new cases are increasing, just something like that. It can't just ever be something that's like, oh, there's a little tiny bit of good news that we can just focus on that and have a breather,
And it's just fear-mongering to so many people, people who would be totally fine if they got the virus. They would not die, probably wouldn't have very many symptoms. I have a friend who just overcame COVID, just had it, and he said he lost his sense of taste and smell, and that was it. Had nothing else, tested positive. And people like that are so scared because of all the deaths and everything, and the news is like, it's the worst thing that's ever happened, and so many people are dying. It's like, well, am I gonna die if I get this? And it's
right.
like, no.
And just tracking the numbers, that are just, you know, increasing. They're just, of course, they're going to keep going up. But we don't do that with any other, you know, infectious disease or lifestyle disease or anything. We don't do that on the news and just be like, this year we've had this many heart attacks, and now it's 80,000. We're approaching 100,000 this year. We never do that.
Yeah.
But with this, it's just been nonstop, and this now we've broken 200,000, and you know, so it's just like this constant impending doom that's what they think is going to keep people watching, I guess, and so they just keep scaring people to death.
Well, and you bring up a good point of, we don't do this with other stuff, like specifically other things that could be avoided.
Yeah.
Like I think it was our first episode we did when we talked about the healthcare system, and how, I can't remember the stat, but it's something like every 6 minutes or something, someone gets a limb cut off due to diabetes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, diabetes.
Yeah, like daily, and there's hundreds of people getting limbs cut off.
Right, and the majority of those, I don't know exact numbers, but there are more people that have type 2 diabetes than, you know,
which
type 1,
type
like
2
insulin dependent.
is you develop it because of lifestyle.
Right.
Most of, like, very rare cases will you get it not because of lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's one of those things, like with a lot of health problems, that your genetics loads the gun, but then your lifestyle pulls the trigger. So you're not doomed to become diabetic just because both your parents were, but you are more likely than if both your parents didn't develop diabetes. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that you have to do it if you live your life a different way.
Yeah. And again, in that case, it's like, okay, you were dealt this hand that's kind of sucky, but now you have to deal with it.
But it's been dealt.
You know, are you in India and you're a woman? Chances are high you're going to get raped. So now you have to deal with that.
Figure out how to manage.
Both of your parents have diabetes. Chances are higher that you could have it. So now you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And
I think people just are less and less comfortable with those types of realities in life. Like they just don't.
Well, because
just death in general.
Well, it's centered around equality, you know, because people want equality of outcome.
Right. And there's no way to guarantee that.
And there's equal opportunity, which is good, and the only thing that's possible, but what people want is equality of outcome. And it's like, well, guess what? I'm 6'2" and, you know, fairly athletic, but I'm never going to be in the NBA. Yeah. That's not equality. What's going on there? It's like, well, that's just the fact of life. There's things, some people are smarter than others, you know? Yeah. I'm not going to get a Nobel Peace Prize in chemistry because guess what? I suck at chemistry. Yeah. I don't have the brain for chemistry. Well, that's not fair. And it's like, I suppose in the technical term, that's not fair because somebody else is getting something that I'm not.
That you don't get,
but
that
also
you want.
Yeah, that would be lovely. I don't think anyone would turn down a Nobel Prize. Yeah. But
well,
it's just
I think
the fact of the matter.
I think that's part of it. That's what I mean. I think that I feel like coming to terms with that is part of becoming an adult. Like learning, like figuring out, life just generally isn't fair. And what we can do is try to minimize the unfairness and not create unnecessary unfairness, but there are some things that are just inherently unfair. Yeah. So we try to make the best of whatever it is, but don't pretend that somebody, you know, whenever something's unfair, it's somebody's fault. Sometimes it is. Yeah. But it's not always
more often than not, it's not.
Right. Like it's not the way things are.
It's not Trump's fault that he was born into a family where he could get $6 million from his dad. Right. He didn't choose to be born into that family. Yeah. And so it's not like he's gonna not take advantage of that. Right. And get $6 million to do whatever business venture he started, you know. But yeah, it's more often than not the inequalities that happen are not someone's fault. It's just something that happened. And we just have to deal with that, and it's part of being an adult.
Right. And we can, as humans, we can try to make things better for people that are like, you know, their situation is way worse than ours, or, you know, there are ways to make an effort to mitigate some of the unfairness, but it should never be forced. Like there should never, that's one of the things I really disagree with, is forcing either a community or a country or an individual to help somebody against their will. I think that kind of thing needs to be voluntary, and it should be taught so that it's more likely that we will help each other. I mean, that's something that as you grow up in a family, you can teach your kids or whatever, is that it's good to recognize why you're fortunate and in which ways, and then you can see that other people aren't as fortunate, and then decide to try to help if you can, if there's a way to do it.
Yeah.
But you can't feel like it's your fault for some reason that you were fortunate.
Yeah.
Like that's nonsense.
Having
like,
guilt.
You shouldn't feel guilty or especially be made to feel guilty that you had fortunate situation. It's fine if you want to encourage somebody that's fortunate to help somebody that's less fortunate, great. And then they can choose to do that. And a lot of people do. However, I think that when the government starts getting more and more involved in charity, then people are less and less likely, they're going to assume, well, the government will do that, you know, and they're going to be less and less likely to do that voluntarily themselves, especially as a society. Yeah. And I think it separates it like sterilizes it. Not only is it super inefficient, like you tax people, waste all the money, and then you have a little bit left over to help the people that are in need. It's much more efficient to have it on a local level where I see a need locally and then I decide I'm going to help. And then so not only is that more efficient, but it's also, I think, much more valuable because it's a human connection versus just like, oh, I'm going to vote for so-and-so because they're going to increase these funds to the poor, you know, and then it's a feel-good way, kind of a cop-out version of actually either providing service or providing charity or just money, whatever it is. But I think a lot of people want to do something or feel like they do something, but that's like a safe, comfortable sort of cop-out way to do it, is vote for big programs and support big programs that take tax money and then inefficiently distribute it.
Yeah. And I've never understood why we don't have just equal taxes across the boards. Like, because people, the more money you make, the higher your tax rate gets. It's like,
the progressive tax rate. Yeah,
it doesn't make any. I've never understood that, and people are like, well, it's because they don't need that much money.
It's like well, that's 100% not your business.
Yeah, why do you care how much money they make, first of all? And second of all, if they're making that much money, guess what? They're probably going to be spending more money as well.
Right.
And they're putting that money into other businesses and other economies.
And paying
local economies.
Even if everybody's paying a 15% tax, they're going to be paying way more taxes.
Yeah, their taxes are still more.
Yeah. I mean, part of that is also partly sort of a jealousy thing too, I think.
Yeah.
People don't want to admit that, but just that attitude of like they shouldn't have that much money, or they don't.
Well, and the most common one now is there shouldn't be any billionaires. Why is there any? And it's like, why do you care?
Since when?
What does that do?
Matter? Let's all be Let's everybody be millionaires and plus have billionaires.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you just want that instead?
Why does it? And people go after Jeff Bezos all the time, and it's like, Amazon is massive.
Yeah.
And the only reason they've gotten that big is because literally everyone uses it.
Yeah.
And since everyone is using it, it means it's a service that is helping people get what they want. And on top of that, the bigger they get, the more employees they have.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Walmart is the #1 employer in the world.
Oh, okay.
And Amazon is getting up there as well. But Walmart, what's the family that owns Walmart?
Boltons.
Boltons. So they're, bajillionaires as well.
Yeah.
But guess what?
Each of them is.
Yeah. And guess what? They're the #1 employer in the world.
Right.
Like, so many people have jobs because of them.
Right. So win-win.
But we shouldn't have any of those.
Yeah.
Why do they need that much money?
Yeah, that whole idea of they have too much money is so, it's again, it goes back to a person's agency. They want to control somebody else because they're jealous or they disagree with their lifestyle or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so that's what they're saying basically, is they shouldn't be a billionaire we're going to force them not. We need to figure out a way to force them not to be a billionaire. Either tax them 98% or make a law, whatever. I mean, who knows what they would come up with. But I think it's all about control.
Yeah.
It's just...
And you don't hear about anything else, really. Like, why does that person have so many bulls? They don't need that many bulls.
Why is their hair so long?
They need to get rid of those bulls. We need to distribute those bulls. That's not,
Yeah.
What are they going to do with all those bulls?
And they have too many colors of bulls.
They have so many stamps. We shouldn't allow that person to have that stamp collection. That's unreasonable.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be anyone that has
Let's make a
thousands
law.
of stamps.
Let's create a government agency that enforces
Once you get to a certain level.
too many whatevers. Yeah.
Once you get to a certain level, then it's like, okay, well, we're going to take
That's
half
it.
of them.
Yeah, we're taking.
And we're going to, put them elsewhere. You don't really know, but we'll take care of it. And just make sure, that you get it.
And same
to
for
us.
houses. If you have too many houses.
That's no.
Just can't.
You can't. There's only one of you.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you only have 2 hands, so you could only hold 2 handfuls of stamps
Yeah.
in your one home.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with all of those homes and
wasteful,
stamps?
yeah.
It's such a waste.
There's homeless people.
So,
All right.
Jeff.
Oh, Jeff.